The next RAID technique is RAID 1, which uses a technique called mirroring to improve reliability. So really, RAID 1 puts the same data on both disks. If we had only one disk, we would keep the data on it. With the other disk, it's just a copy of the first disk. So a write of the data from the system will cause a write to each disk. Now note that this results in the same write performance as when we had one disk alone, because although the two writes are happening, they're happening at the same time. Each disk is given the same write, so each disk does exactly what a single disk would be doing as far as writes are concerned. So this write takes approximately the same time as it would take to do it on one disk, because they're really doing it simultaneously. But for reads, we can read any one disk. Both of them have the same data. We only need to read the data once, so we end up reading only one of the disks. So for reads, we get twice the throughput of one disk alone. Pretty much if we have more than one read to do, we're going to send half the reads to one disk and half to the other. They have the identical data, so actually we can always split the disks. We never have the situation that all the data we want is on one disk, because really any data can be read from any of the two disks. And this scheme can tolerate any faults that affect one of the disks. So it could be that, for example, there's a bad sector on one disk. Well, we can just read the same data from the other disk. Or we can have an entire disk fail, in which case we are left with one disk that still has all the data. So remember when we said that we have two copies of something and we can detect but not correct the error? For disks, this is not true, because the ECC on each sector of each of the disks will detect errors that occur already. So now that we know which one has an error, we can always use the other one that doesn't have an error there. So if you have two copies of something and you know which copy is wrong, then you can, of course, correct the error simply by reading the correct copy.